Here are the 9 contestants preparing themselves for today's show, but only one can win. The other 8 will leave the studio with nothing because their own teammates vote them the weakest link.
Welcome to the weakest link. Any of the 9 people in the studio could win up to £10,000 today. They don't know each other, however. If they want the prize money, they'll have to work as a team. But 8 of them will leave with nothing as round by round we lose the player voted the weakest link. Let's meet the team.
I'm Simon, I'm 30 from Dorset and I'm a manager at Bournemouth YMCA.
I'm John, age 56, from the Wirral, and I'm unemployed.
I'm Sue. I'm 31. I live in Llandudno, North Wales, and I'm a barmaid.
I'm Christine. I'm 52. I live in Hereford and I work for the local authority.
I'm Terry. I'm 61 years old. I live in Basildon, Essex, and I'm retired.
From Maldon in Essex, I'm Felicity, 47-year-old, self-employed bookkeeper.
I'm Margaret from Dunstable in Bedfordshire. I'm 50 years old and I'm a housewife and carer.
I'm Mal, I'm 56 years of age. I'm a self-employed taxi driver from Knowsley in Merseyside.
I'm Caroline from Teddington. I'm 23 years old and I'm currently studying for my Masters in Neurobiology.
Now the rules. In each round, the aim is to answer enough questions correctly to reach your £1,000 target within the time limit. The fastest way is to create a chain of 9 correct answers. Get your question wrong and you break the chain and you lose all the money in that chain. But if you say bank before the question is asked, the money is safe. However, you start a new chain with 0. Remember, at the end of the round, only money that has been banked can be taken forward. You have 3 minutes in round 1. We'll start with the person whose name is first alphabetically. That's you, Caroline. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Caroline, Robbie Fowler and Michael Owen play for which Premiership team?
Manchester United.
Liverpool. Simon, which body of water does the River Seine empty into?
The English Channel.
Correct. John, how many cents does the US slang term a quarter refer to?
25.
Correct. Sue, the molecule of which substance consists of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen?
Water.
Correct. Christine,
Bank.
what is the surname of Friends actress Jennifer?
Don't know.
Aniston. Terry, Harold Wilson was leader of which political party?
Labour Party.
Correct. Felicity, what title did Oliver Cromwell take when he ruled England in the 17th century?
Lord Protector.
Correct. Margaret, which French philosopher is famous for the statement, I think, therefore I am?
Descartes.
Correct.
Bank.
Mal, what name is given to a line which passes from one side of a circle to the other through the centre?
Circumference.
Diameter. Caroline, walruses live chiefly in which ocean?
Atlantic.
Arctic. Simon, who was the youngest Beatle?
George Harrison.
Correct. John, what is the capital of Austria?
Vienna.
Correct. Sue, what is used to hit the ball in a game of polo?
A mallet.
Correct. Christine,
Bank.
which girl's name is the title of a Jane Austen novel?
Emma.
Correct. Terry, by area, what is the smallest state in the USA?
Washington.
Rhode Island. Felicity, true or false, peanuts grow on trees?
False.
Correct. Margaret, which people were led by Attila?
The Huns.
Correct. Mal, in which cartoon film do Mowgli and Baloo appear?
Jungle Book.
Correct. Caroline,
Bank.
which sugar is found in milk? Lactose or fructose?
Lactose.
Correct. Simon, What sort of businesses are Christie's and Sotheby's?
Auctioneers.
Correct. John. Which chemical element with the symbol Cl is used as a disinfectant in swimming pools?
Chlorine.
Correct. Sue.
Bank.
From which London station would you catch the Channel Tunnel train to France?
Waterloo.
Correct. Christine. George Formby is famous for playing which musical instrument?
The ukulele.
Correct. Terry. In the music scale that starts do, re, mi, what note follows fa?
So.
Correct. Felicity. Which Yorkshire fishing port links Captain Cook with Count Dracula?
Grimsby.
The time is up. I cannot accept your answer. OK. You banked £500, which means, team, you fell short of the £1,000 you could have won. One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Statistically, Caroline is the weakest link in this round because she got the most questions wrong. The strongest link is Sue, with 3 correct answers, and she banked money for the team. But will our contestants have picked up those details?
OK, pens down, voting over. Please reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Mal.
Felicity.
Caroline.
Margaret.
Caroline.
Christine.
Mel.
Felicity.
Mal.
Caroline. Why Mal?
Well, I thought some of his questions were quite easy. It wasn't really testing him.
You actually got more wrong than he did.
But I knew the answers. I just didn't say
Do you
them.
think that's of much comfort to the rest of the team, that you knew the answers?
It is, because I know I'm going to be strong on their team.
Well, we hope so, because in fact, statistically, you were the weakest link. But unfortunately, it's not statistics, Mal, that counts, it's votes. So, Mal, with 3 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I feel disappointed that I've been knocked off in the first round because, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't expect to be knocked off in the first round.
Round 2. Now you've won £500 so far. You could, of course, have had 1,000 by now. 8 players left. Remember, speed, strategy, banking at the right time. We are now taking 10 seconds off the clock, and we are starting with the strongest link from the last round. That's Sue. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Sue, in food, what is a crudité?
A starter. A dip.
It's a raw vegetable. Christine, how many English kings have been named Edward?
8.
Correct. Terry, what is the name of the current Pope?
Paul.
John Paul. It's Pope John Paul II. I cannot accept your answer. Felicity, Operation Desert Storm was an airborne attack on which Middle Eastern country?
Iraq.
Correct. Margaret, in literature, the Day of the Jackal concerns a plot to kill which politician?
General de Gaulle.
Correct. Caroline, in Hansel and Gretel, what was the witch's house made of?
Sweets.
Correct, plus gingerbread.
Bank.
Simon,
Bank.
for £20, what year was the Great Train Robbery?
1963.
Correct. John, what does an archer carry his arrows in?
Quiver.
Correct. Sue, the terms strike and spare are used in which sport or pastime?
Football.
10-pin bowling. Christine, what name is given to the branch of medicine which deals with the health and welfare of old people?
Geriatrics.
Correct. Terry, who won an Oscar for the male lead in the film American Beauty?
Kevin Spacey.
Correct. Felicity, off which coast of England is Jersey?
Southwest. South.
South. Southwest, I'll accept anyway. Margaret,
Bank.
the sap of which tree is used as a syrup to put on pancakes?
Maple.
Correct. Caroline, what do the letters YWCA stand for?
Pass.
Young Women's Christian Association. Simon, On a weather map, a line joining places of equal atmospheric pressure is called what?
An isobar.
Correct. John. What is the nationality of the broadcaster and journalist Clive James?
Australian.
Correct. Sue. Along with white, what colours appear on the Italian flag?
Blue.
Red and green. Christine. In boxing, which weight division lies between light heavyweight and heavyweight?
Middleweight.
Cruiserweight. Terry. Which comet can be seen from the Earth approximately every 76 years?
Halley's Comet.
Correct. Felicity.
Bank.
In modern American history, who shot Lee Harvey Oswald?
James Earl Ray.
Jack Ruby. Margaret. What name is given to the fertilizing powder formed in flowers? Pollen. Caroline. What name is given to a diamond pattern of 2 or more colours seen on socks and sweaters? Time's up, and the answer was Argyle. You won just £220 in that round, when 1,000 was available. Who isn't up to the job? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
In this round, Sue is the weakest link statistically. She got none of her questions right and also lost her team the most money. But will the rest of the team remember that in the previous round, Sue was the strongest link? Let's see.
OK, pens down, voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Christine.
Sue.
Margaret.
Caroline.
Sue.
Sue.
Caroline.
Terry.
So, Felicity, why Sue?
Well, I'm afraid from being the strongest link, she seemed to become the weakest.
Right.
I think she got all but one wrong.
Terry, why Sue?
Simply, she couldn't answer the questions in that round.
Sue, from being the strongest link in the first round, I'm afraid, with 3 votes in this round, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I can't believe that they've just thrown me out. I was the strongest link on the first round. I think the person who's going to be voted out next is going to be Terry. I think he seems to be dithering a bit.
Round 3. You've won £720 so far. You could have won 2,000. You are down to 7 players. We are taking another 10 seconds off the clock. We will start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Simon. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Simon, who famously shed tears after being booked in the 1990 Football World Cup semi-finals?
David Beckham.
Paul Gascoigne. John, what is the best-selling copyrighted book in the world?
A Bible.
Guinness Book of Records. Christine, which European nation has the high-speed train known as the TGV?
France.
Correct. Terry, what is the scientific study of ancient people and their activities through excavation called?
Archaeology.
Correct. Felicity, which town in Somerset is said to be the resting place of the Holy Grail?
Glastonbury.
Correct. Margaret, what county is Reading in?
Berkshire.
Correct. Caroline, what was Elvis Presley's middle name?
Pass.
Aaron. Simon, in which country does the Pamplona Bull Running Festival take place every year?
Spain.
Correct. John, which Hollywood actor stars in the millennial thriller End of Days?
Pass.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Christine, what was the name of the wars that were fought between the houses of Lancaster and York?
Roses.
Correct. Terry, where in the British Isles was Tony Blair born?
Scotland.
Yes, I'll accept it was Edinburgh.
I think I've been a bank.
Felicity, where would you find the British Crown jewels?
The Tower of London.
Correct. Margaret, what island is the boot of Italy kicking?
Sicily.
Correct. Caroline, what name is given to the Japanese craft of paper folding?
Origami.
Correct. Simon, who liked his electric razor so much he bought the company?
Victor Kiam.
Correct. John.
Sorry, bank.
What colour does litmus paper turn in alkaline solutions?
Blue.
Correct. Christine. Main Road, Anfield and Highbury are all what?
Football grounds.
Correct. Terry. What is an aphid?
It's an insect.
Correct. It's a green fly.
I'm going to bank again.
Felicity. Whom did Mark David Chapman shoot and kill on the 8th of December 1980?
John Lennon.
Correct. Margaret. In what year was Prince Andrew born?
1960.
Correct. Caroline. In which sport did TV presenter Suzanne Dando compete in the 1980 Olympics?
Horse racing.
Gymnastics, but your time is up. Right, team, you only banked £350. So, of course, you missed your £1,000 target. If you've got your eye on the prize money, you must ruthlessly get rid of the dead wood. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Will the team have noticed that for the second time in the game, statistically, Caroline is the weakest link? Or that Felicity is the strongest link in this round? Who will the team get rid of?
OK, pens down, voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Caroline.
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 Christine.
Well, quite a lot of agreement there. John, why Caroline?
She failed to bank when it was at 200.
Simon, you didn't bank.
But then I got the questions right.
Caroline, you were going to be really useful, you said, later on, even though you were answering all the questions wrong.
They're the right answers, but the wrong questions.
Right. And you didn't bank. £200 at one point you could have banked.
I thought I'd get a question that I'd know.
Well, you're not going to get any more chance. Because Caroline, with 6 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I think all of the people there knew the Elvis question because when I answered it, when I said pass, and they were like, oh no, and I could hear, you know, all these little sighs and everything around, and I thought, oh, everyone knew that one, but I just didn't know it. I think the next person to come off will either be Terry or maybe Christine, because everyone else is playing really well out there.
Well, team, well dispatched, a unanimous verdict. We're on to round 4 now. And you've won £1,070 out of potential prize money of £3,000. 6 of you left. Another 10 seconds is coming off the clock. Just 2.5 minutes in this round. We will start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Felicity. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Felicity, what is the name given to the practice of telling fortunes from people's hands?
Palmistry.
Correct. Margaret, in literature, what was the name of the captain who was chasing Moby Dick?
Captain Ahab.
Correct. Simon, Joe Johnson and Dennis Taylor have been world champions in which sport?
Snooker.
Correct. John.
Bank.
What currency do the Finnish use?
Kronen.
What currency do the Finnish use?
Kronen.
No, marker. Christine, which former MP presents a morning chat show on BBC One?
Robert Kilroy Silk.
Correct. Terry, what is the name of the current Chancellor of the Exchequer?
Gordon Brown.
Correct. Felicity, Linford Christie was born on which Caribbean island?
Jamaica.
Correct. Margaret,
Bank.
in what century was Vincent van Gogh born?
The 19th.
Correct. Simon, which artery carries blood from the heart to the whole body?
Pass.
Aorta. John, what is the maximum score in blackjack?
21.
Correct. Christine, what country was formerly called Ceylon?
Sri Lanka.
Correct. Terry,
Bank.
Which tragic Greek character is famous for killing his father and marrying his mother?
Oedipus.
Correct. Felicity. Which Irish playwright wrote Waiting for Godot?
Samuel Beckett.
Correct. Margaret. How many keys are there on a standard modern grand piano?
64.
88. Simon. What colour is the star on the Israeli flag?
Blue.
Correct. John. Which country does the island of Kos belong to?
Greece.
Correct. Christine.
Bank.
Bamboo is a very large variety of what type of plant?
Grass.
Correct. Terry, complete the title of this film and book about growing up in Limerick. Angela's?
Ashes.
Correct. Felicity.
Bank.
Other than Emily and Charlotte, name the third Bronte sister.
Anne.
Correct. Margaret. What spirit is the base of the Mexican cocktail margarita?
Tequila.
Correct. Simon.
Bank.
Which sport is played on a surface that is 9 feet long and 5 feet wide?
Table tennis.
Correct. And time up. And another £1,000 has gone begging. You managed just 400 on that round. Who would it be much more efficient without? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
In this round, John is the weakest link. The strongest link for the second time in a row is Felicity, who answered all her questions correctly. But without knowing these statistics, how will the team vote?
Okay, pens down, voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
John.
Margaret.
Simon.
John.
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 Terry, why John?
I just remembered him getting the question wrong about the Finnish currency.
Right, you knew the answer to that, did you?
No, I didn't, no.
No, right. Good job it didn't come to you then, wasn't
Correct,
it?
yeah.
Margaret, why John?
I just seem to be losing it.
Margaret says you were losing it, John. And in fact, with 4 votes, as you can see, your teammates have made you the weakest link. Goodbye.
It was a long way to come to get a question on Finnish currency. I think probably Terry will be voted out next. He was hesitant on a few answers.
Okay, round 5. Well, your total is £1,470. If you'd hit your targets, it would be £4,000. There are 5 of you left. Another 10 seconds is coming off the time. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Felicity. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Felicity, which new town in Buckinghamshire was founded in 1967?
Milton Keynes.
Correct. Margaret, Nirvana is a state of enlightenment in which religion?
Buddhism.
Correct. Simon, whose first novel, published in 1814, was entitled Waverley?
Jane Austen.
Sir Walter Scott. Christine, which celebrated low-budget film sees 3 young filmmakers lost in the woods?
Blair Witch Project.
Correct. Terry, what do the letters RNLI stand for?
Royal National Lifeboat Institution.
Correct. Felicity, Bryan Adams' song Everything I Do It For You was featured in which film?
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Correct. Margaret,
Bank.
which English naturalist published The Origin of Species?
Charles Darwin.
Correct. Simon, Pearl Harbor is part of which group of islands?
Oahu.
Hawaii. Christine, in which sport has Colin McRae been world champion?
Horse racing.
Rallying. Terry, who wrote the children's book The Railway Children?
E. Nesbitt.
Correct. Felicity, what are the closest female attendants of the Queen called?
Ladies in Waiting.
Maids of Honour. Margaret, in the animal kingdom, what are Gallegos better known as?
Turtles.
Bush babies. Simon, At which racecourse would you come across the Chair and Beecher's Brook?
Epsom.
Aintree. Christine, what does NATO stand for?
National Nations Treaty. Oh, no.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Terry, New York has two major baseball teams. One is the Yankees, which is the other?
The Mets.
Correct. Felicity,
Bank.
who wrote the ballet Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty?
Tchaikovsky.
Correct. Margaret, what was the name of Gladys Knight's regular backing group?
The Pips.
Correct. Simon.
Bank.
The first programme of which TV music show was presented by Jimmy Savile?
Top of the Pops.
Correct. Christine. We are out of time. You won £170 in that round when you could, of course, have won 1,000. One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
In this round, Terry is the strongest link, the only member of the team to answer all his questions correctly. Conversely, Simon is statistically the weakest link with the most incorrect answers. However, will the team vote in the same way? Let's see.
OK, pens down, voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Christine.
Simon.
Simon.
Christine.
Christine.
Felicity. Why Christine?
Although I think she and Simon got roughly equal questions wrong, at least Simon Banks.
Christine, with 3 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
The question that I struggled with, without a doubt, was did NATO stand for? Oh my goodness, I know this, for some reason I wanted to say nations because I was thinking back to United Nations and the UN, and it's not. I think in the next round it's going to be Simon. I don't think he's going to last much longer.
Round 16, you've won £1,640 so far out of a possible £5,000. 4 of you left. We are cutting another 10 seconds from your time. We are starting with the strongest link from the last round. That's Terry. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Terry, if you are anemic, what is the main mineral that you are deficient in?
Iron.
Correct. Felicity, in which sea would you find Trinidad and Tobago?
The Caribbean.
Correct. Margaret, meaning peace, what is the traditional greeting in the East, particularly between Muslims?
Salam alaikum.
Correct. Simon.
Bank.
In which year did the UK join the European Community?
72.
1973. Terry, who was the tallest president of the USA?
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Abraham Lincoln. Felicity, what name is given to the hot, dry wind which blows from the Sahara to the North Mediterranean coast?
Sirocco.
Correct. Margaret, which Dickens novel did Uriah Heep appear in?
David Copperfield.
Correct. Simon, in which country did yoga originate?
India.
Correct. Terry.
Bank.
What is the name of the ruling house of Monaco?
Grimaldi.
Correct. Felicity, paper and silver are types of which tree?
Birch.
Correct. Margaret, what name is given to the fat extracted from wool?
Lanolin.
Correct. Simon,
Bank.
who had for £20, who had a #1 hit in 1966 with These Boots Are Made for Walking?
Cliff Richard.
Nancy Sinatra. Terry, in Walt Disney's Bambi, what type of creature was Flower?
Deer.
Skunk. Felicity, Sir Frank Whittle invented what sort of engine?
A jet engine.
Correct. Margaret, what is a young kangaroo called?
A joey.
Correct. Simon,
Bank.
which director's last film was Eyes Wide Shut?
Stanley Kubrick.
Correct. Terry, the Nou Camp Stadium is the home of which soccer club?
Barcelona.
Correct. Felicity,
Bank.
which Kevin Costner film featured the characters Stand with a fist and wind in his hair?
Haven't a clue.
Dances with Wolves. Margaret, who was US President between Jimmy Carter... Time is up. I cannot finish that question, and you have got £400 of the 1,000 you could have won in that round. Whose knowledge isn't good enough? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the first time in the game, Margaret is the strongest link statistically. She got all her questions right. But for the second time in a row, Simon is the weakest link, although he did bank £250 for the team. Will he survive another vote?
OK, pens down, voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Terry.
Simon.
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 Terry, why Simon?
Just the perception again that he got some questions wrong.
So did you, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, Simon, you were close to leaving last time. But you made it this time. Congratulations. With 3 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
It's a long walk. It's a long walk down that corridor, and yeah, you're very much aware that the cameras are on you. In some ways, I think it's harder to go out now than earlier on. I think being that close kind of hurts. I think the person who probably should have gone out that round was Terry. Although he answered one more question than me, the game's about money in the bank, and although neither of us had a good round, I was the one doing most of the banking. So I guess his time's coming.
OK, round 7. You have £2,040 out of the 6,000 you could have won. Just 3 of you left. Another 10 seconds coming off the clock. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Margaret. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Margaret, who was US President between Jimmy Carter and George Bush?
Ronald Reagan.
Correct. Terry, what name was Ringo Starr born with?
Paul Starkey.
Richard Starkey. Felicity, the uppermost layer of branches in a forest is known as what?
Pass.
Canopy. Margaret, if you were in Bangladesh, what is taka?
Food.
Money. Terry, which Scottish city hosts an annual military tattoo ceremony?
Edinburgh.
Correct. Felicity, which worker uses a long shovel called a peel?
Pass.
A baker. Margaret, which artist painted the Potato Eaters?
Van Gogh.
Correct. Terry, whom did Akihito succeed as Emperor of Japan in 1989?
Hirohito.
Correct. Felicity, which comedian plays Kevin the teenager in the film Kevin and Perry Go Large?
Harry Enfield.
Correct. Margaret, in mythology, which Greek island was home to the Minotaur?
Crete.
Correct. Terry, what type of music is Joan Baez famed for playing?
Folk music.
Correct. Felicity, how many sides does a heptagon have?
7.
Correct. Margaret,
Bank.
which insects are bred in the ancient Chinese art of sericulture?
Silkworms.
Correct. Terry, who plays James Bond in the film The World Is Not Enough?
Pierce Brosnan.
Correct. Felicity, which political... You must mention bank before I start the question. Felicity, which political anthem was written in 1889 by Irishman James Connell?
Pass.
The Red Flag. Margaret, who wrote the plays Private Lives and Blythe Spirit?
Noel Coward.
Correct. Terry,
Bank.
which form... Well banked, Terry, because the time is up. Now, you didn't reach your £1,000 target. You banked £220. In round 8, you get the chance to treble what you bank. That means in the next round, there's £3,000 to be won. There's a serious question to ask yourselves before then. Who is most likely to let you down? Who won't cope with the pressure and the speed? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Once again, Margaret is statistically the strongest link with 5 correct answers. And for the first time in the game, Felicity is the weakest link with the most questions wrong. But will the voting follow the facts?
Okay, pens down, voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Felicity.
Terry. Terry.
Well, Margaret, why Terry?
Seem to lose the answers.
Felicity, why Terry?
Because it definitely wasn't Margaret.
But Terry, there's nothing I can do about that. With 2 votes, you've been made the weakest link. Goodbye.
Disappointed not to be in the final because, as it was proven, I wasn't the weakest link. But there were several other games when the weakest link didn't go out. So, well, the question I feel really aggrieved about is the one about Ringo Starr. I've got all the Beatles albums at home. You know, I talk about the Beatles. They're one of the best groups ever, and I know all their names and when they were born, etc. And I know that Ringo Starr is Richard Starkey. But I opened my mouth and Paul Starkey came out. I won't live that down.
Round 8. You've won £2,260 so far, out of a possible 7,000. Margaret, Felicity, just the 2 of you left, and this time you have only 90 seconds. But whatever you win in this round will be trebled and added to your total to make up your final prize money. £3,000 is at stake in this round. We're going to start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Margaret. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Margaret, which Formula One world champion has a brother, Ralph, who also competes in the sport?
Michael Schumacher.
Correct. Felicity, Widow Twankey is the dame from which pantomime?
Aladdin.
Correct. Margaret, Robin Day, Peter Sissons and David Dimbleby have all been presenters of which topical TV discussion programme?
Question time.
Correct. Felicity, Jesse Owens was the first man to exceed 8 metres in which athletics event?
Oh, long jump.
Correct. Margaret.
Bank.
The opera Falstaff is based on which Shakespeare comedy?
Merry Wives of Windsor.
Correct. Felicity, if you are a diabetic, what hormone are you lacking?
Insulin.
Correct. Margaret, if you were born on the 1st of March, what star sign would you be?
Pisces.
Correct. Felicity, what C is a London street synonymous with the youth fashion of the swinging 60s?
Carnaby.
Correct. Margaret, Fort Worth can be found in which American state?
Texas.
Correct. Felicity.
Bank.
Who plays the stressed-out mafia boss in the film Analyze This?
Tom Hanks.
Robert De Niro. Margaret, which member of the Mitford family wrote Love in a Cold Climate?
Nancy.
Correct. Felicity, what is the capital of Portugal?
Lisbon.
Correct. Margaret, what is the light-sensitive area at the back of the eye called?
Retina.
Correct. Right, time up. And you didn't make it to £1,000. You made it to 500. We'll treble that and add it to the winnings from the previous rounds. That means prize money today of £3,760. But only one of you can take that money away. You will be playing against each other head to head. I'm going to ask alternate questions, the best of 5. Whoever answers the most correctly wins. It is as simple as that. If there's a tie after 5, we'll go for sudden death until we have a winner. Let's play the weakest link. Margaret, as the strongest link in the last round, you have the choice of who goes first.
Felicity.
Felicity, step forward. Felicity, what is the name of the oxygen-carrying pigment in red blood cells?
Hemoglobin.
Correct. Margaret, in the cartoon Peanuts, which character was famous for always carrying a blanket?
Linus.
Correct. Felicity, what is the main ingredient in the Middle Eastern food falafel?
Chickpeas.
Correct. Margaret, what is the principal town on the island of Jersey?
St Helier.
Correct. Felicity, which musical duo provided the songs for the film The Graduate?
Simon and Garfunkel.
Correct. Margaret, which diamond sits in the head of the royal sceptre?
Kohinoor.
The Star of Africa. Felicity, in Shakespeare's play, who was the wife of Othello?
Desdemona.
Correct answer. Margaret, members of which West Indian religion worship Haile Selassie?
Rastafarians.
Correct answer. Felicity, whose biggest UK hit was Achy Breaky Heart?
No, I couldn't stand the record, and I can't remember.
Billy Ray Cyrus. Margaret, to stay in the game, the island of South Georgia belongs to which country?
The UK.
Great Britain. Correct answer. After 5 questions, we have a tie. So we now go into a sudden death situation. The questions will continue in pairs. If Felicity gets her question correct, then Margaret will have to answer her question correctly, or she will lose. Equally, if Felicity gets her question wrong, then Margaret will have to answer her question correctly to win. Let's play sudden death. Felicity, Fort Lauderdale can be found in which American state?
I think it's Texas.
Florida is the correct answer. Margaret, the tide has turned. Which country occupied Afghanistan in 1979?
Russia. USSR.
That is the correct answer. Margaret, you are today's strongest link, and you go away with £3,760. Felicity, you leave with nothing. You've been watching The Weakest Link. Goodbye.
During that last game, the pressure was getting really tough. I had sweaty palms, the back of my neck is really aching.
It's amazing. I just never thought I'd win. I really didn't. It was so nerve-wracking, and I'm just over the moon. It's just wonderful.